Get ready for the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, where we are breaking down the biggest stories in District 4 athletics week in, week out in the great state of Idaho. We are coming to you live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account. Of course, you can watch the Magic Valley Prepcast anytime on replay at those three destinations as well. You can also listen to the Magic Valley Prepcast at IdahoSports.com, along with wherever you download and subscribe to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. My name is Brandon Baney, but let's bring on our Magic Valley resident and expert. Let's go. It's Scott Burton. What's up, Scotty?
Yo, Brandon, what's shaking? You do your Ice Buck Challenge yet?
No. Scott knows this. Not everybody else does. It'll become clear soon. A lot of behind the scenes stuff here at IdahoSports.com has occupied all of my time this week.
Okay, you get a pass. You get a pass because we are coming up on state. Everything for the spring. District tournaments are underway. It is crazy, crazy busy. I get it. You get a pass, but once we're through, man, you've got no excuse anymore. And you have to wear that like ridiculous Green Bay shirt while you're doing it.
Yeah, my Green Bay polo. Yeah, very, very professional looking attire here today. So,
Yep. Well, we're coming from a new room today because this is a room in progress. We're getting some remodeling done, and the man cave right now is being occupied by the guys that are working on the house. And so I'm stuck in an office that we're renovating. And so it's a black wall behind me, which is going to be cool when we're done because we're going to have like a bunch of 33 records on the wall. It's going to be really cool. But for now, pretty bored black wall behind me.
now I have to ask with your, first of all, they're no longer records, Scott. The term is vinyl. That's the new hip term.
Well, I think I just dated myself, but yeah, we have some vinyl coming on the walls, Brandon.
There you go.
It's a music room. And so I've got this little bad boy as a little decoration as well. So, old school mic. Pretty cool.
Don't let Paul Kingsbury see that. We're trying to find all the equipment we can. He might commandeer that mic.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, he's got a desperation email looking for equipment. He may turn this into something. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. Now your vinyls, Scott, are they vinyls you originally acquired in the 70s, 80s, 90s, or are they kind of the new fad is re-releases of old vinyls?
It's a little mix of both because I was a record guy back in the day. And I have more like 45 records, the smaller ones, than I do the big 33s. But I've got plenty of 33s, some old school, have some of my parents' albums that I listen to. Well, they listen to that I was exposed to as a kid. And so they're going to go up there. So everything, and I think we can get 60 up there. And every one of them is going to have like a story. Everyone's going to have like a personal meaning behind it. So we're excited to get it done. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, that is going to be a lot of fun. Well, from 45s to sub 45s, because we're going to talk a little track and field and a 4x1 that was sub 45 by not one, but two different Magic Valley schools at the Monty Andrews Invitational held by Valley High School every year. Scott, what got me on my radar was a post I saw on social media from the Raft River track and field program where a couple of school records fell by the wayside at last week's Monty Andrews invite. Let's start with that 4x1 relay where Raft River sets a new school record. The quartet of Ruger Ward, James Dalton, Trace Ward, and Tyler Harper on the anchor. They run a time of 44.86 seconds. Now, you might think, hey, new school record, probably good enough for first place. Not in this event, because the Valley quartet of Daniel Zamudio, Josh Hardy, Andrew Lukes, and Nathan Christensen bested the Raft River Trojans by 2/100ths of a second. That's right. Raft River ran a 4.486. Valley runs a 4.484. You literally cannot get closer than 2/100ths of a second. Photo finish.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Down to the wire in that one. And those are two of the top three times in the state in 2A. So they're both of those teams, if they can keep that up, are going to be vying for a title. Butte County leading the way at 4.52. So when you break down, at least in the 4x1 at this level, within half a second of each other, you've got five teams Logos, Prairie, Raft River Valley, and Butte County. So that could be a fun state final, in a couple of weeks.
You know what I love about this? Looking at I've by one time, all like 8-man football players that I saw from this past fall from Butte County, Razor Duke and Keaton Archer, that Hardy and Christensen from Valley, and Ruger Ward from Raft River, and Dylan Eulencott and Matthew Wemhoff from Prairie, and even Logos with Ryan Daniels and Dominic Poros, some good receivers. So, hey, that's small school athletics at its finest. Yeah. You fly on the football field, you're flying on the track too.
Yeah. And speaking of kind of like familiar names and whatnot, this past Monday, I was the speaker at the 4th District Honors Banquet. And basically what that was is every school in the Valley, regardless of size, brought like the bigger schools brought 4 kids and then their parents. Smaller schools brought either like 3, 2, or 1, depending on the size. Anyway, but good ambassadors to the school, extracurricular activities, excellent in the classroom. And then they all, got introduced and paraded across the stage, got a plaque and whatnot. Pretty cool deal. And then I was, the keynote speaker at the end. But watching all those kids, you would be amazed at, or maybe you wouldn't, how many of them we have mentioned on the podcast. I mean, it just name after name after name. And it's like, dude, we've talked about you. We've talked about you. I remember that game you had, whatever. And so it was a really cool experience because, I got to see them in person and they got to see me in person. And it wasn't even Idaho Sports, but obviously Idaho Sports came up during the thing. But man, so many kids that we talked about were there. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I went through a similar thing up here with the North Idaho Athletic Hall of Fame banquet that we live streamed on IdahoSports.com. Kind of the same thing. It is a who's who of North Idaho athletes that we've talked about all throughout the year. And it's really fun when we're able to finally put the name to the face and vice versa, right?
Yeah, no, it was super, super cool. And I'm glad I remember to tell you that because as soon as I finished, I got to tell Brandon. So
yeah.
There you go.
That's awesome. Well, back to our favorite Raft River Trojan, Ruger Ward. His day was not done, Scott. He helped set a new school record in the 4x1 relay. He also sets a new school record in the pole vault. Now, I had to chuckle because on the post I saw on social media, they put the international meter mark that he cleared, 4.22 meters. And yes, that is the International Olympic standard. But for us Americans, I'm like, well, how far is that? I have no idea. 13 feet, 10 inches here in America. That's pretty impressive for Ruger Ward, new school record in the pole vault.
Yeah, I saw the post and yeah, it said meters and I really didn't quite grasp that. It's like 4.2. That's it. Well, he didn't have any competition, but it was meters. And then you and I, before we came on, are sitting here doing the calculations, carrying the one. Okay, I think we got this right. It's like cooking with milliliters. I'm like, come on, man. Hey, Siri, how many cups are in a milliliter? Whatever it is. Oh, shoot, my phone just turned on. But yeah, but still a pretty cool feat. And man, that was a big day.
Yeah,
big day
it gave him the new statewide lead in the 2A pole vault as well. 13 feet, 10 inches. That is 4 inches better than another Magic Valley guy, Dallin Virgin from Murtaugh, who cleared 13 feet, 6 inches. So, all right. We talked about this for weeks now, Scott, especially at the 2A ranks. The Magic Valley track and field athletes are strong this year.
They are. And they really always have been. There's been some really, really strong small school athletes. And, you're talking about Raft River. I mean, you can't talk about Raft River track without like Allie Black and that crew, to where they would just absolutely dominate and just score massive amounts of points. And you see that a lot more obviously in the smaller schools, and pretty cool. And there's some really good ones here in the Magic Valley.
Yeah, just other leaders from the Magic Valley, like in the 2A ranks. Andrew Lukes from Valley, top triple jump. Ruger Ward from Raft River's got the top long jump this year, in addition to the pole vault. Dalton Nelson from Hagerman has cleared 6 feet 2 inches, which is tied for the top high jump mark in the state. And even onto the track, you've got some impressive performances as well. We talked about those 4x1 relay teams, but like Liam Koziol from Oakley has the top 110-meter hurdle. In fact, the top 3 are all Magic Valley guys. Koziol from Oakley, Seamus Merrill from Hagerman, Nathan Christensen from Valley. We know Christensen is great in the jumps as well. It's just really impressive to see all of this talent here in the Magic Valley. And how about this? The top 100-meter time is from Hanson Husky, Aiden Orozco, 11:19.
Oh, how about that? And then you get all the way down to the triple jump, and the top 4 are from the Magic Valley. So I don't know if you mentioned that or not. Maybe I wasn't listening.
No.
But yeah, there's some really, really cool athletes that we're going to be talking about, after we finish state track. So yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes. Every once in a while, I jump on the records page and just kind of check it out and see how everybody's doing. And man, it is littered with Magic Valley kids.
Yeah, pretty cool. That top 4 in the triple jump, Andrew Lukes from Valley, then 2 Camas County mushers, Connor Freeman and Clancy Rablin, and then Bud Cortez from Shoshone. Fourth, yes. And Bud's had a good year. He was quarterback for the football team, had made some impressive plays in basketball. I think he made the game-winning basket we talked about during the winter season, made that jumper from the foul line as time expired, and now doing it on the track too. So
awesome
things. Yep. All right, Scott, let's move on to postseason softball and baseball. Now, baseball is a little further along than softball because of the new super regionals, which has pushed the start of the postseason up a week, essentially. Softball kind of just got started last night in one district in particular, but I thought it would be good to kind of lay out how the softball district brackets are looking, and then we'll go to baseball where we have more actual tangible results to talk about. So what I am going to do is I will share my screen with everybody here so they can see what exactly we're looking at. If you're watching this, I always recommend to make your screen full size. That will help you see it a little easier. And then if you're listening audio only, you can just follow along. We have all the district brackets, softball and baseball, right at the homepage on IdahoSports.com. But without further ado, I always forget when I prepare, but I am learning that I have to include 6A now because Canyon Ridge competes in 6A in certain events, not in softball, though. It is a traditional Great Basin Conference where Canyon Ridge actually finished 7th and did not qualify for the district tournament. Only the top 6 got to go. So here is what we are looking at here, Scott, the Great Basin softball bracket, where Twin Falls is the number 1 seed, Burley is the number 2, Wood River 3, Jerome 4, Mountain Home 5, Minico 6. We have play-in games tonight, so that's why you are a busy guy. Jerome's hosting Mountain Home, Wood River is hosting Minico, and then we will go from there.
Yeah, this is talk about hit the ground running here. I mean, we are starting tonight, and this is an interesting conference just because there's no clear-cut dominant winner. I mean, there's just not that one team. I mean, Twin is 11-1 in conference, but it's not because they've been blowing people out. It's been a 1-run game here, a 2-run game here. It has been so close between Twin, Burley, Wood River, and even Jerome, those top 4. Man, but the common thing that you're getting in this tournament is really the lack of serious pitching. Because when you talk about softball, you get one pitcher and you get a dominant hitter or a couple of those. I mean, you've got a recipe for success. And you take a look at Twin. I mean, they've got some hitters, and they have one of the best hitters in the conference, if not the state, in Hodge, who's hitting 605. 13 home runs. She leads the team in every offensive category. Pair that with Torgrimson, who's hitting 487. But it's the pitching. They've got Holcomb and Gorley are doing most of the work. A 7, almost an 8 ERA from Holcomb, and then the freshman Gorley, who's had a really surprising breakout year, 6.75 ERA. But there's just no dominance. So they're winning a lot of their games like 16-15, 17-14 or whatever, because they've got the hitters to do it, but they're lacking pitching. Now the other thing, is I look at Burley, that 2nd seed. Man, what a year that Adeline Olmos is having. She is pitching the bulk of the load there, just over a 3-run ERA with 128 strikeouts to 36 walks as a freshman. And she's also their leading hitter, hitting 526 with 5 home runs. But mark my words, this is where Burley stands out, and then I'll shut up and let you talk. But Burley defensively could be the best team in the conference because they just don't make any errors. They have a 956 fielding percentage, only 15 errors on the season. I mean, granted, when your pitcher is striking out 128 people, there's a lot of softballs in play, but still, that's solid defense, and that's what's keeping Burley around as well as their freshman phenom.
Yes, it's been a really impressive trio of teams at the top. But as you mentioned, Scott, all three of them are allowing, like Twin and Wood River are allowing like 8 to 9 runs per game. Burley is actually the best at run prevention at 5.9, but they're only scoring 7.5. And so, yeah, I think it's a true toss-up between those top three teams. I like the Jerome baseball team. Can the Jerome softball team catch lightning in a bottle here, Scott?
Whew, boy, I don't know. The thing that Jerome, they're pretty good across the lineup, but what they are missing is that one dominant player. You go through each one of these teams. I mean, just take the top 4, right? For Twin, you got Hodge. All right. For Burley, you've got Olmos. I mean, by far, they're studs. For Wood River, Mac Nelson. For Jerome, who is it? Because they don't have the dominant pitcher. Brianna Robinette has come a long way, though. A 3.3 ERA, 37 Ks only, 26 walks. But they don't have that power hitter. They're led offensively by junior Ellie Helmer, who's hitting .523. She's a great contact hitter. She doesn't strike out. She's only got 8 strikeouts on the year. But the next bevy of hitters are in the 400s, So there's just not that dominance. And they're going to have to play a lot better defense because they don't have that pitcher that's striking people out. The ball is always going to be in play. And that's something in softball, well, in baseball too, that you really got to consider, especially in softball. We just talked about how almost Burley is striking out 128 people. That means that's 128 outs where the ball never hit the bat and got put into play. Jerome's defense is always going to be relevant because they don't have that dominating pitcher. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then I think on the flip side of that too, there's so many dominant pitchers in Idaho this year. And we do a weekly feature called Primetime Pitchers, where basically I go through all the box scores and I kind of pick out the best pitching performance of the day. And we've had a lot of no-hitters and one-hitters and near no-hitters and things like that, near perfect games. And I've seen so many times where a dominant pitcher, like the only thing separating them from the perfect game and the no-hitter was like 1 error defensively or 2 errors defensively. It can be hard as a defender to stay engaged when your pitcher is striking out so many that, oh my gosh, somebody actually made contact. What do I do?
Yeah. And there's truth to that too. And I don't know, it'll be a fun district tournament. Kicks off tonight. We've already talked a lot about, Wood River and Mac Nelson and how the year she's having, especially at the plate. Their weakness is going to be their depth, but any of those top 4 can get it done, especially if you catch lightning in a bottle.
We'll see. 2 teams go to state from this district tournament. Let's move on to the Sawtooth Central Idaho Conference. I'm going to just open all of the other brackets that I need to reference here on the softball side of things. And let's get to, this is the actual tournament that started last night, Scott. You had the opening round. It went chalk. Number 1, Kimberly over number 4, Buell, 8-4. And number 2, Gooding squeezes out a 1-run victory over number 3, Filer, 3-2. So now you've got Buell and Filer playing in a loser-out game Friday night. Kimberly and Gooding will play on Friday night as well. There are 1.5 bids to state from this district. I got to say, if it is Kimberly and Gooding, or if it's Kimberly and any of the 3, Kimberly, Gooding, Filer, I feel pretty good about them stacking up with the 3rd place team from District 3. So I think the Magic Valley does get 2 teams to state. The question is, okay, which 2 teams is it going to be?
No, I completely agree. I was looking at the exact same thing. I mean, you look at the Max Preps rankings, depending on how much stock you put into that right now. Kimberly is sitting at number 2. Gooding is sitting at number 4. And Kimberly has got all of the pieces of a winning puzzle. I mean, they're 21-2 on the year. Kelsey's hitting .571. Alman 500. They don't strike out. And I think this is really important to know about Kimberly is this is a team that puts the ball in play. And they average just striking out 4 times a game. That's it, and you know that they have seen some pitching and only 4 strikeouts per game. So they make the defense play. And boy, does that help your cause. And you couple that with strong pitching, Kelsey is just having a year. 1.65 ERA, 134 strikeouts to just 11 walks, and her opponents are only hitting 200 against her. You talk, what do you need in softball? Okay, you need to hit the ball, obviously. You need a strong hitter. You need strong pitching. But then the X factor is what I just said. They don't strike out, they put it in play. Kimberly is primed and ready to make a run.
Yep, Kimberly looks really good. It wasn't all that long ago that Kimberly was competing for the state championship in softball as well. So good luck to all of the teams still competing there. 3A, Scott, this is where Wendell and Declo have kind of connected their caboose to the District 5 Southeast Idaho Conference. And again, not everybody played an even number of games, so it kind of got seeded according to Max Prep's rankings. We talked about that in girls basketball, how it benefited Wendell. It has benefited Wendell again in this bracket as they are the number 2 seed. I got to be honest, this is something I would like to see changed next year. If you're going to belong to a conference, I think you can make the commitment to play everybody twice in the conference like everybody else. I'm not saying that it's Wendell's fault necessarily. I'm just saying that's something I would like to see, a little more uniformity between the conference slate of games. But here is Wendell number 2, Declo number 3. They are going to play Monday night in Wendell. The winner of that will move into the undefeated semifinal game. This is definitely Malad's tournament to lose. They are a state title contender, not just a district title contender. There are 2 teams who get to state, though. And so it could be Wendell or it could be Declo. Both teams have a good shot.
Yeah, you look at this and it's right on. You said it perfectly. It's Malad's to lose. I'd be surprised if they didn't walk through this thing because they, have taken care of everybody. 21-2 on the year, and then you look at the number 2 seed Wendell, and it's really, as Brianna Comstock goes, is how Wendell goes. Because she's on the hill, she's at the plate. I mean, she's kind of their do-it-all. So they're really going to have her pitch well, hit well, do everything well, and then hopefully get a little bit of support. Because, this is you look at the Max Preps rankings and Wendell's right up in the mix as well, So, but again, this is Malad's not district tournament to lose. I think it's Malad's state tournament to lose.
100% agree. And Wendell beat Declo the first time in the regular season, 14-7, but Declo nipped Wendell on April 23rd, 10-8. So we'll see. Revenge could be on Wendell's mind after getting knocked down there by Declo. We'll keep an eye on that. That'll be Monday night. The first game is Saturday between Soda Springs and Westside. That's kind of a de facto play-in game essentially there. And then finally, Scott, 2A, District 3, technically Districts 3 and 4, because Glens Ferry is playing in this thing. I can't tell you where everybody's going to be seated yet. I can tell you, I'm pretty confident Glens Ferry is going to be this team right here, number 1, and they are going to be the heavy favorites to win this district tournament. We talked about that trip they made to North Idaho last week, Scott. They beat both Genesee and Prairie on Friday night, and they had the lead late against Potlatch on Saturday before the Loggers rallied to win by 2, 8-6.
Yeah, boy, you're right. We talked about it, and it was a much-needed trip for Glens Ferry because that conference is so down this year that you're just not getting any better by sticking around. And so they had to hit the road. And they took on number 1 Potlatch. Max Prep's number 1. Potlatch lost 8-6, took on number 2 Genesee, beat them. So they're right in the mix. We've talked about this team before, and they've got the pieces of the puzzle as well. They've got a strong hitter in Arevalo, who's just unstoppable at the plate. And then can't say enough about what Taylor Martinez has done in the circle, with her 1.16 ERA and 222 strikeouts to 45 walks. Talk about not having to play defense, right? But Glens Ferry, they've got the pieces as well.
Yeah. The other quirk to this bracket, Scott, I'll point out, it all takes place on one day. It's all Friday, May 9th at the Gals Fields over in Caldwell. And that is it. No messing around. 1-day tournament.
Yeah, no kidding. And again, boy, hope your pitcher can last, because they're going to be throwing a lot of games.
First games are at 10 a.m., Scott, and the last game is at 6 o'clock at night. That is a long day of softball over there, but
my goodness. Well, like boot camp tournament. There you go.
Yep, for sure. Good luck to all the teams that are going to be competing there. Okay, let's go to baseball, Scott. I'm going to once again get all the brackets opened up here, but we are going to lead off, of course, with the Jerome Tigers, who last week when we were on the show, I believe you described the Great Basin Conference as trying to read pig Latin. And so it was a funky looking bracket for sure. And for those that missed the show last week, you'll see what we're talking about here in just a second. I did want to just give a quick shout out, of course, to Canyon Ridge. They did compete in 6A baseball this year. They had to play Thunder Ridge on Monday in a loser out game, basically a play-in game to face number 1 Highland, and Canyon Ridge did lose that game at Thunder Ridge 12-7. So that wraps up the season for the Riverhawks there. And they'll play 6A baseball again next year as well. But now to this Great Basin bracket, Scott, where we talked about it. Twin Falls, all they had to do was beat Minico on Friday. They took care of both games. So Twin Falls wins this top part of the bracket over Minico and Wood River, basically. And then the bottom half is where things got interesting, because Jerome, the 6 seed, had upset Burley, the 3 seed. And then Burley had upset Mountain Home, the 2 seed. So we went into Friday with Jerome, the only team that was still undefeated. Burley and Mountain Home had each taken a loss. And so we said, hey, Jerome's going to play Mountain Home first, Burley second. They could just wrap this thing up on Friday. That's exactly what they did.
Yeah, except we got rained out and got pushed to Saturday.
Well, yes, but
yes, you're right. But you're right. And boy, you talk about everything coming together at the right time, and in baseball, it's such a long season sometimes that you just peak at the right time. Jerome did. They knocked off a really good Burley team, Mountain Home. And I think the kick and things are going to have to fall your way, because Mountain Home threw their ace against Burley. They were just going to go after Burley, knock him out and get done with it. Right. Burley was having none of it. And Trey didn't have his stuff, his best stuff. Burley was dialed into him and they beat him. And I don't think anybody saw that one coming. And so that kind of flipped that whole bracket on its ear a little bit. And now you've got Mountain Home, who has just burned through their ace. What are you going to do? And I also believe their number 2 was not 100%. And so their whole game plan just got flipped upside down. And so when they came to play Jerome, Jerome's like, no, we got you. And they did. And then Burley back around, here we go. And that one was 1-0 or 1-1 forever. And finally, a walk-off in the 7th won it for the Tigers. And now they're going to go against Twin tomorrow for the district title. And that's a team that they played well. Twin beat them 5-4 in a game that Jerome should have won. They had them down to their final outs and last inning couldn't hold it. And then Twin beat them 6-2. So it could be a really, really good game. And the winner of that obviously is going to host one of the super regionals that I'm sure we'll talk about here. But then you're going to get to the Max Preps at large bids. And I think Burley will be fine. I think Burley's going to get in. I think Mountain Home's got a good chance of getting in too. I think the one that really got stung was Minico. I think they're the team that's going to get left out, because at one time the Great Basin was looking at having 4 teams in there. But with Jerome kind of coming from the cellar and just knocking everybody off, it really hurt teams like Minico. So we'll see how this shakes out. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. And again, just to reiterate what Jerome did, Mountain Home 3-2 final. The winning run is scored in the top of the 7th. We were tied 2-2 all the way to the top of the 7th. Jerome pushes that run across. They close the door in the bottom of the 7th. They win it 3-2. And that knocked Moho out of the tournament. And then the game against Burley, Scott, 1-0 final. Only run scores in the bottom of the 7th. It's a walk-off for the Tigers. And how about the pitching job that Sawyer Tilley did? 7 innings of work, Scott. He only allowed 2 hits, 1 walk, 15 strikeouts for Sawyer Tilley. That is doing work in a do-or-die situation for Jerome.
Oh, he threw so well. And so did everybody that kind of took the hill. They pitched very, very well. They played solid defense. And that's why the run production was so low on both sides, winning, 3-2, 1-0. It's like, that's strong pitching and that is strong defense. And then a timely hit here and there. And that's how baseball goes when you're playing well. Yep, so we'll see if they can keep going tomorrow night. We'll see.
100%. And for Jerome, a team that went 1-9 in conference play this year, to now be playing in the conference championship against Twin Falls. Just incredible. Both teams playing with house money. They've already clinched their spot in the Super Regional, but man, Jerome would love to host that thing instead of having to travel somewhere. So that will be interesting for sure. And then, you talked about Minico is right on the cut line. They're ranked 11th right now in the Max Preps baseball rankings. In theory, they could be number 12, the last team in, but Lewiston at number 12 is playing for their district championship against Moscow today. If Lewiston wins that steals a bid, and Minico is probably pushed out. So Minico has to kind of cheer for Moscow to just kind of take care of business chalk-wise.
Yeah, they can't afford any upsets. They need it to go chalk, and then maybe they can sneak in. So we'll see. It'll be fun, and we're all watching that too, because this Super Regional, like we talked about, we don't know where we're going. There's 4 different locations, and depending on how this shakes out and who wins these district tournaments, there's a chance that if Twin beats Jerome, that Jerome could stay here and play.
Right.
Or we could drive up to freaking Sandpoint. we don't know, and it's tough because all of a sudden here we go. After tomorrow, everybody's going to be scrambling, making plans. Okay. What do you do? I don't know.
If I had to guess, Jerome's going to come in as that 12th team of 12. And if Bonneville, the number 1, wins over Blackfoot in their district championship, that's probably where they're going. But if Blackfoot knocks off Bonneville, then all of a sudden Twin Falls is the new number 1 in terms of hosting. And you're right. They could stay right there and be in Twins Super Regional. So if I were you, Scott, I'd probably be cheering for Blackfoot.
Yeah. I'd love to keep them local. From not only a fan perspective, but from a financial perspective as an athletic director. I'm like, oh my gosh, can we just stay at the KOA or something, because it's just going to be really expensive.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So Twin Falls and Jerome playing for the district title tomorrow. Good luck to both teams there. 4A, Sawtooth Central Idaho Conference. Scott, Buell wins the district title over Kimberly last night, 9-5. It has been a fantastic season for Buell. They've walked the tightrope of having 10 or 11 guys all season long, which in baseball is 1 or 2 more than the minimum needed, and yet they have found a way. So Buell wins the district championship. They are most likely going to host a super regional next week. And now you've got Kimberly and Filer playing each other for second place in the district. Now, all that is guaranteed at the 4A level are the 5 district champions. And then from there, all of the remaining slots are determined by Max Preps. So if we look at the Max Preps rankings, who's looking good? Kimberly certainly ranked 8th. And for Filer, they are currently ranked 13th. So they would need to win this game here to leapfrog potentially Bonners Ferry or Weiser, who are directly ahead of them on the cut line.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough ask for Filer because Kimberly is, well, we'll see how Kimberly reacts to losing to Buell. Kimberly just could not solve the mystery of Porter Higley and Bladen Lowry over the course of the season. The 2 times that Buell has beaten Kimberly, it's been Higley and Lowry. And the first time around in that 10-3 win, it was Higley throwing 4 2/3 innings, allowing just 2 runs, 8 Ks. Lowry comes in and cleans it up. And then in the district win, it was Higley again, 5 innings, 10 strikeouts, only 3 hits, and Lowry comes in and cleans it up. So it's been a really, really strong 1-2 combination for Buell, with those two pitchers. But I don't know. We'll see how Kimberly reacts to that, and if Filer has enough to get him.
It's going to be Buell's the kind of team that with those two pitchers at the top, if they could just string together a game, they are a dark horse, in terms of maybe winning their super regional, getting to state. Of course, you got to have three guys to win, but it's going to be really interesting. Now, here's the deal. If all of the district tournament favorites win, that'd be like Fruitland and Marsh Valley and Sugar Salem. Basically, there are 5 districts, only 4 super regionals. The North automatically gets to host. So Timberlake, even though they're ranked 9th, they're hosting one, which means whoever has the highest Max Preps rankings between the other 4 district champions, they get to host the other 3. And right now, Buell is 4th in line behind Sugar Salem, Marsh Valley, and Fruitland. But if any of those 3 get upset somewhere along the way, Buell then slides in and could host a super regional. So Buell's got to root for some chaos if they want to stay home. Otherwise, they probably will have to travel somewhere despite winning their district.
Man, you almost have to get a degree to follow all this stuff. I mean, it is intense. It is last second. You don't know where you're going from one day to the next, and one team can win or lose, and that'll send you 500 miles the other direction.
From a fan and media perspective, though, man, it's juicy to talk about this. And I think next year, Scott, IdahoSports.com should do like a selection show for these super regionals. Oh. Let's unveil the bracket. And because with the other events, we can kind of guess how it's going to shake out, but this is truly unknown. Who knows how it's all going to look? So
that's a great idea. Okay. All right. You're onto something. Let's work on that. But yeah, it's going to be crazy, and it'll all shake out for boys baseball after this weekend.
For sure.
By Saturday night.
Yes. So Sunday, some point on Sunday, we'll have those super regional brackets actually released. And of course, as soon as they are, IdahoSports.com will have them locked and loaded and ready to go. One comment here, back to softball. Natasha King, our favorite Glens Ferry softball fan. North Idaho trip was great for our Glens Ferry girls. Proud of them and the coaches. Yes, we are certainly proud as well. And we'll talk about Glens Ferry baseball here in just a moment. But first, 3A, Scott. This is District 4 and 5, the Southeast Idaho Conference, where this is going to look kind of funky. And here's the deal. We had a play-in game last night between Lighthouse Christian and Declo. And you're thinking, Lighthouse Christian, aren't they a 2A? Didn't they play like Glens Ferry and Garden Valley and North Star Charter and all those teams this year? Yes, they did. But here's the deal. Lighthouse Christian formed a co-op with Hagerman this year in baseball, and that combined student population put them over the 2A, 3A line. It pushed them into being a 3A school. Now, they petitioned to remain at the 2A level and were denied. I don't know if it was every coach in AD, but an overwhelming majority of them said, nope, we're kicking you up. So Lighthouse decided we're still going to be in the conference for the regular season. We'll take our chances at districts as a very small 3A team. They did almost beat Declo. They played at CSI last night, the College of Southern Idaho. Declo only won by a run, 8-7. But when I saw this bracket, I had to go, okay, why is Lighthouse Christian in this bracket? And there's the story. So
yeah. Yep. And for those that don't know how that works, is if you combine teams, like Murtaugh and Hanson did in football, I believe it was a few years ago, then you are taking on the school populations and adding them together, and wherever that makes you fall in the classification rank is where you're playing. And I think there's a lot of people don't quite understand how that works and why it's like, well, they don't have it over there. Why can't you let them come play at your place? Well, because we're going to take on their entire school population for 2 players. And now all of a sudden we're bumped up and we just can't do that. And so that's why it's such a tricky thing.
I personally don't like it. I think it discourages co-ops. And I'm all about co-ops. If there's 3 kids from Hagerman that want to play baseball, okay, they should be able to go to the closest school and play there. Now, I don't know how it got lined up with Lighthouse, but I don't know. I think in general, if you can give those opportunities to those kids who just don't have enough for a team and it doesn't affect it, then I think co-oping is the way to go. But something like this, Lighthouse is going to go, why would we ever take a co-op kid again, like after this? But
yeah, right, exactly. Because then just get bumped up and it's based on a kid or two. And it just doesn't seem right. And you're absolutely correct. It's going to discourage co-ops because I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. So anyways, Lighthouse, their season comes to a close. First and last game at the 3A level was against Declo here at the district tournament. So Declo has moved on. They're playing Malad tonight in the opening round. And then you've got Wendell hosting Soda Springs tonight as well. Wendell, again, coming up aces in this unbalanced conference schedule. Another number 2 seed here for the Trojans. In terms of who can advance to state here, there are 2 bids available, and then there are some wild card slots that will be handed out. 4 wild card slots to the Super Regional. Who's looking safe? Obviously, Malad is kind of the overwhelming favorite, just like in softball. Their baseball program is really good. Wendell is ranked 12th right now, and Declo is ranked 19th. So both of them would need to do some lifting here at the district tournament to feel really safe about their spot.
Yeah, they do. I mean, number 2 seed Wendell coming in with the 7-14 record, I believe. They lost to Malad earlier, 8-3. So they can hang in there. The thing about Wendell is they've got enough people, athletes, talent to hang around, but they just have got to be better. And I know that sounds really kind of generic and trite, but defensively is where I see it, because they have got to be better defensively. You know, they're committing nearly 5 errors a game on average, and that's just not going to get it done. You know, when you're hitting 259 as a team, and that's it, you're going to need timely hitting, you know, because you've got, you know, Ponce and Hauser and Prince. Those are the guys that are kind of leading you in the offensive statistics. And it's not that one big dominating player, you know, that we're talking about. But then you factor in some shoddy defense, and it's like, man, you guys are giving away way too many games and runs. So they're going to have to tighten it up a little bit, is Wendell.
And against some of the other 3A contemporaries that figure to be at state and competing for a title, they've been snake bitten in a lot of these games. I mean, like they lost to Marcine in 9 innings, 14-10. They lost to Firth by only a run, 7-6. They lost to Grangeville 3-1. They lost to Chalice Mackey 2-1. They did also beat Chalice Mackey by a run. They lost to Malad the one time they played them 8-3. So they're like in the neighborhood, but they haven't been able to close it out.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. They've got enough, and they're there, and they're hanging around. Just tighten it up a little bit, especially on the defensive end. And then things get a lot easier because they have given up so many unearned runs that it just makes your head spin when you look at, you know, statistically, and especially as a coach, you're like, oh my gosh, we could just field that ground ball. 2 runs don't score. Now we maybe win the game.
Yeah.
So there you go.
We'll see. Wendell gets to host Soda Springs tonight, and then we'll see what happens after that. Good luck to both Declo and Wendell here. And finally, Scott, the 2A District 3 tournament, the Western Idaho Conference, as it were, it has gone chalk. North Star Charter, number 1 seed, Glens Ferry, the number 2 seed. This tournament is taking place at Glens Ferry High School. I'll tell you what, Scott, last night, the Pilots had to rally past number 3 Idaho City here, 6-5, very tight game. And so here's what's on the line. 2 teams automatically get to advance to the Super Regional out of this district. The district champion, so whoever wins tomorrow between North Star Charter and Glens Ferry, and then whoever loses would then have to play either Idaho City or Garden Valley here in this true second place game to also earn their spot at the Super Regional. 2 teams from the North advance, 2 teams from the South, and then the remaining 4 are determined via Max Prep's rankings. And if you just take the top 8 teams right now in 2A baseball, North Star Charter and Glens Ferry are the only teams that are ranked in the top 8. So both teams can feel pretty good about their chances of advancing. The real key is going to be the district champion gets to host. And the way 2A is doing it, because there's not enough teams for 4 different super regionals, it's basically 1 hosts 8, 2 hosts 7, 3 hosts 6, 4 hosts 5 in a best of 3 game series. Well, whoever wins this game here is automatically going to be in the number 4 seed and get to host that best of 3 series. So for Glens Ferry, this is the difference between hosting a team from the north like a Troy or a Prairie, or having to travel somewhere like Potlatch or Kendrick or something like that. So there's a lot on the line here for Glenns Ferry.
Yeah, there is. And that should be a really good game. If you remember the last time these two tangled, it went 11 innings. And it was Glenns Ferry's only league loss, and so they're going to do it again tomorrow, and I look at this Glenns Ferry team, and I think that's one thing they're going to have to do. I mean, because right now I think they're sitting at number 8 in the Max Preps, if I'm not mistaken. So they're right there, and they have a pretty good shot of qualifying, but they're going to have to get better plate appearances, I think. I mean, just from my research and what I've looked at, and this is a team that strikes out a lot, over 8 times a game. And we just got done talking about how important it was to put the ball in play when we were talking about softball. Well, this is what Glenns Ferry needs to do, because they've got some guys that can hit the ball. Sanchez, Sterling, Macias, those guys are really, really good. But the problem is, if you got people striking out before you, they don't even have a chance, to hit with runners on. But if you put the ball in play, man, there's a good chance that you could get on. And it's just one of those small details, because they do have a really good pitcher in Alan Macias. He's 98 strikeouts on the year to 18 walks with a 1.87 ERA. I mean, this kid can throw, but he's going to need some help, because, after, Sanchez and Sanchez and Sterling are going to have to be on top of their stuff too when they come in, because after that, the coverage is pretty bare. But I think quality plate appearance, put the ball in play, and then let Macias do his thing. And then next thing you know, you can win a lot of games.
Yep. And the other danger for Glenns Ferry is, let's say they lose this game to North Star Charter and they've got to play Idaho City again down here. Mm-hmm. Let's say Idaho City is the team that wins 6-5 this time. Well, guess what? Idaho City, the team that's ranked 12th in Max Preps, just vaulted into the top 8. And Glenns Ferry, who was number 8, moves to number 9, and they're out of it entirely. So it is a tightrope for sure for the Pilots. Yeah,
this is a do or die for Glenns Ferry tomorrow. So it'll be a good game.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. So, man, Scott, talking postseason baseball just gets the juices flowing, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Love this time of year.
Oh, it does. I do too. And it's just so fun to break down teams and kind of, find their weaknesses and what they've done well, and then kind of maybe things to exploit, because, it is a game of detail. And those details make such a huge difference when you understand the intricacies of baseball and softball. And that's what a true fan understands. The casual fan, they don't really get those small things. But the small things are the funnest part about this game.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. Super regionals next week for baseball, district tournaments for softball, and then district golf is this week. State golf is next week. So much stuff to talk about, Scott, and we will probably save all of the state championship stuff for our big end of this school year data dump, where we'll go through all the spring sports championships at the end of May. So
absolutely. Yep. It's getting to be that time. It's man, everything is just coming at you fast. So, and these super regionals we're going to be talking about them. We're going to be talking about them for a while and examining what worked and what didn't work. And I'm interested to see how, what the reports are from all the classifications and all the locations on what were the problems and how are they going to make this better? Because this is a first, and it's really, really interesting.
Yep. All right. Well, on that note, Scott, I know you've got to run. Jerome softball's got a district tournament game. So thanks for tuning into the Magic Valley Prepcast, everybody. For Scott Burton, I'm Brandon Baney. We'll see you next time on IdahoSports.com.